Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a great day. As always, likes, comments, and subscribes are appreciated, and without further ado, let's jump right into it. For those of you not looking at the screen, it says Bitcoin and Ethereum take another step higher, FTM and Rose rally as well. At the moment, there seems to be a lot of optimism in the cryptocurrency space. Prices at the time of me making this video are moving higher. It says technical analysis, Bitcoin gearing for liftoff to $44,000. Recovery isn't over yet because it would have to be near $70,000 for it to be able to. Ethereum rallies above 3,200, but this resistance is the key. And Bitcoin just flashed a very rare buy signal. This is according to crypto hedge fund CEO Su Tzu. It's a really weird time because there's an enormous amount of optimism. Rather, there's a huge amount of fear in the market as to what is going to happen next, as there seems to be no exact clear indication of movement. However, the energy in the room from every single corner of cryptocurrency investor is very optimistic or energized in that we should be moving higher just about any time soon. I don't know, and they definitely don't know when the market is going to move, but a lot of people are using these very interesting indicators to kind of show where things could be going in the coming days. Su Tzu, that is S-U and then Z-H-U, co-founder and CEO of crypto hedge fund 3 Arrows Capital, says Bitcoin just flashed a very rare bullish signal. Tzu pointed out to his Twitter followers that Bitcoin's dormancy flow metric has just reached a level 5 times other in history. He said dormancy flow buy signal on Bitcoin very rare, only 6 times in history. And I think did I magnify this? I don't think I made this any larger. The point is, right. A lot of people have been looking at the amount of Bitcoins that haven't been moving on chain or literally at all. We've had a lot of indications last year that there were a number of companies, people, individuals who make accounts or make wallet addresses and continue only buying. There's never any selling that have happened from them. There are a number of these accounts as well that since around 2013 are continuing to just accumulate. And a lot of times these coins are listed as dormant or sleeping, whatever kind of word you want to put there. And whenever we see that it continues to increase, or rather the amount of coins that aren't moving, it means that Bitcoin in essence becomes more illiquid. The amount of Bitcoin that there actually is to go around continues to dwindle quite rapidly. We also have more news about that in the video as well, and therefore this is usually indicated as a buy moment for the market, in that the amount of Bitcoin that's not moving is only increasing, and therefore it's becoming scarcer. Therefore, buy, air quotes, at this moment. It says crypto and fintech stocks surge after being in red for months. So for those of you who did not see the very weird, very confusing situation that ended up taking place yesterday, Jerome Powell, who is the current re-elected head of the Federal Reserve, announced, he says the economy no longer needs aggressive stimulus. I and many other people were just as confused. I'm sure there's a method to the madness, as there usually always is, basically announcing that inflation is a huge problem, but the economy isn't in trouble, and therefore the Federal Reserve having to buy trillions of dollars worth of equities and securities is no longer a major priority for them. And should they see in the coming months that the economy continues to improve, as they said that it is already doing, they would then start tapering, not giving as much money as they were to the market, and then trying to work on inflation itself. Right. So as that happened, the stock market began to rise, tech stocks began to rise, and also the cryptocurrency market began to rise as well. But it's a very weird, I'll show you, of course, the price charts at the end of the video. It was a very odd pump and then kind of leveling off of cryptocurrency prices once again. I know that they know that the economy isn't good. If you remember last year, we had news from the Federal Reserve, the people who print money in the United States, and I say print because it's all digital now, basically announce and say that inflation was not a problem. There was no inflation going on. We're still going to hit our 1% to 2% target. And everyone else and their mother knew that they were not telling the truth. By the time we got towards the end of the year and the actual metrics came out, and it was anywhere, depending on which website you looked at, it was anywhere between 5.6% to 6.2%. And everyone was like, wait, you just said that there was no inflation. They said, no. We said there's inflation, but it's not as bad as people think. And at the same exact time, the other countries around the world are also going through their own inflation problems. Jobs have not come back. There are still tons of people around the world as well. In the United States who still do not have proper housing. The prices of everything continues to go up. So what world they're living in where the economy still does not need help and that they would even think of raising interest rates. The idea of, once again, for those of you who don't, and I mean basic terms of interest rates, the idea of a low interest rate, so you lower interest rates to make taking out debt more appealing. The interest rate is currently between, I think it's 0 to 0.25% within the United States. If the debt, the appeal of taking out debt is so high with a low interest rate, therefore people would start taking out more debt to buy cars or houses or whatever people are taking out debt for. But no one's really doing that. If you watch the video on my other channel, I think it's called like the rich, something about the rich in real estate. You'll understand more of exactly what's happening. The only people who are buying real estate right now are those who are super wealthy or those who have had some money in the bank, and that is a very fragmented portion of the entire society. So anyway, the point to be made is that after his announcement of all these things going on, all markets began to move up. Sure, why not? And then the other part of that is there's also news that I believe today or soon or in the coming weeks. I'm not joking because I read it in different places. Apparently, there's going to be a working on regulatory framework for cryptocurrencies within the United States. And the first thing that will be discussed is the creation of the central bank digital currency. A lot of stuff going on, but this was also, as you might have imagined, quite popular news. The cryptocurrency market has begun to move up. Apparently, the U.S. economy no longer needs as much help as it was getting before. I watch financial news all the time, so maybe this guy just simply missed it. On top of that as well, new data shows that Bitcoin miners are hoarding more coins than at any other time in the past 5 months, which could be a fresh signal that the current prices are not for selling. For those of you who don't know that metric, this is actually a very popular one, and this is one that I have hung on to for a number of years. I, of course, I understand technical analysis and yada, 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 yada. One of the more accurate metrics is the people who are minting, creating, mining Bitcoin. It's how often that they're selling. Usually the idea is if they are mining Bitcoin, and you have a huge operation that's, hundreds of thousands of machines, what have you, at some point you're going to have to pay the electricity bill. And we can usually see that, that sell off from their actual wallets, usually being converted into US dollars, what have you, to be paid to the actual electric company. But a lot of times we see, even if they have to pay their bills, they're not selling as much Bitcoin as they could have or should have done. And they're actually only accumulating more Bitcoin, which is usually quite interesting because they're already not only creating Bitcoin themselves, but they're also buying up more Bitcoin, which is usually a metric that they see or they believe that prices are going to be heading higher. And therefore, why would I sell here if the price is going to be going here? Analyzing its miner net position change indicator on the 11th of January, on-chain analytics firm Glassnode revealed what popular Twitter account Bitcoin Archive described as massive accumulation by miners. Bitcoin price may be disappointing spot traders this year, understatement, but long-time market participants are anything but concerned. In addition to strong hands or seasoned hold, that is terrible. Miners are now no exception, increasing their Bitcoin holdings considerably in the first 2 weeks of 2022, and I did make this one a lot larger. You can actually even see the actual movements. You should be able to see it. I don't think it's cut off by the screen. This red right here is basically when things were not as open because of 19. That's a nice way of saying it. You can even see the actual movements in price of Bitcoin through the actual accumulation that was going on by them, the sell-off, the time that we had a bit of downtime, price going back up. It's always the same exact metric over and over, but you see that they're also selling less and less That's if you can see this entirety. It goes right around here, how low it goes. They're selling less and less every single time, which is usually, especially years ago, if you look at the 2017 charts once again for actual Bitcoin mining accumulation, you can see that this also decreases over time, and eventually they're not selling at all as they assume that Bitcoin will continue pumping. And then in 2017, the prices did pump, so that's kind of the metric right there. It says the past 5 days have seen more than 5,000 Bitcoin per day land in their books. For those of you who need the reference, there are 900 Bitcoin that are created per day. And just in 5 days, they've accumulated more than has actually been created by the actual network that they're mining. At the same exact time, never forget, we know of at least 3 companies on the planet who have announced before since 2019 that they're basically buying up all the Bitcoin that gets mined per day. And we can only assume that there are at least 5 minimum other companies who are trying to do the exact same thing, who are buying huge amounts of Bitcoin on a daily basis. Also keeping in mind, logically, there are at least 900 people on the planet of 7.4 billion people who are probably buying at least 1 Bitcoin a day as well. There's not a lot of Bitcoin left. I can't keep stressing this over and over nearly every other 4th video, but just understand what's actually taking place. So yeah, basically to round it out, to finish it off, that's all the price news. Prices are moving back up. People are quite optimistic. A lot of people are expecting prices to continue surging. There's no real reason why prices should be this low at all. There's no actual given reason, except for anything that might be along the lines of people are afraid of what's happening in other markets, and therefore Bitcoin may get some slippage because of the situation that's happening with other marketplaces and real estate and yada, 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 things like that. But the amount of accumulation that we've seen, the amount of ETFs being created, and once again, this is why I keep saying these things should actually get more airtime. The ETFs that were created in Canada and in Australia, and also I think in Brazil and many other places, they haven't stopped buying Bitcoin. For some reason, it's not major news because they're not US ETFs. These ETFs, and there's I think 6 or 7 active in Canada alone, they're buying more Bitcoin every single day. We know these metrics are true. We can see them on the actual charts. We can see that the largest Bitcoin, how many times in the last week have we gotten that the third biggest Bitcoin wallet has been accumulating tens of thousands of Bitcoin every other day? Every person who's selling, those coins are being gobbled up by whales, but prices still are trending sideways. Anyway, that's all the price news. We'll see what happens by the weekend, or maybe even by next Monday. Maybe some logic will slide into the market. Yeah. And without further ado, let's move on. Next up, in news that I assumed would have been more popular, but it wasn't, Cash App, the payment app from Jack Dorsey's Block, has added the option of making payments through the Lightning Network. Though Cash App did not announce the news publicly, some users have reported an in-app message revealing the update. It says, "We've just added Lightning Network. Use the fastest, free way to pay anyone in Bitcoin. Just scan or send to a Lightning address." It is unclear whether the new feature is available for all users today. Some users reported that the feature is initially being made available to iOS users and that Android users have not seen the update. This should be everywhere. As far as I'm not in the States, but as far as I understand, Cash App is incredibly popular. I've had friends tell me before they would Cash App me, and I'm like, I don't know what that is, and I definitely do not use it. So the news that not only has Bitcoin been integrated into Cash App, but Lightning Network is definitely there as well, and people will be able to send instantaneous, and I say free, transactions, because it's like 1 Satoshi as an actual transaction fee. Should have made a lot more news, but alas, it didn't. A lot of the news, and I'm not joking either, a lot of the news revolved around prices. I mean, just like the actual movement of prices, and there's also something else inside here which was also like relatively popular news, but I would have assumed the actual being able to use Bitcoin anytime, any place, rapidly, without having to wait 75 minutes for a validation and or a $15 transaction fee would have been more popular. We spoke about this in 2019 as well. I kept on saying I'm pretty sure that the Lightning Network is going to become absolutely massive because it's the only realistic now way that we have of Bitcoin actually being used on a daily basis. Like with the Lightning Network, you can actually, you know, pay for a cup of coffee, which was the really big thing that skeptics kept on saying in 2017, 18, and 19. Well, I can't even buy coffee with it. And now you can. Anyway, that's the Lightning Network Cash App news. I thought it would be more popular. This is the only website that I found that was talking about it. Kind of weird, right? Yeah. Let's move on. And for some reason, this was incredibly popular news, and I have a feeling that he did not want it to be popular news. This was more popular than the actual Cash App thing. Changpeng Zhao, a former McDonald's employee, wow, and the CEO of Binance, the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange, is the world's richest crypto billionaire. His net worth is comparable to that of Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, according to a recent report by Bloomberg. Binance CEO Changpeng Zhao's net worth is around $96 billion. Zhao's riches might be even bigger, given the wealth estimate excludes his own personal crypto assets, which include Bitcoin and Binance Coin. Last year, the value of Binance Coin, commonly known as BNB, I've never heard anyone say BNB. Even my friends who have Binance Coin, they simply just say Binance Coin, soared by almost 1,300%. There was a recent interview with Changpeng Zhao. I don't know. He was on some stage and somebody was talking to him. And they were asking him, you know, it's really annoying when you have an interview with someone and they're not asking about the cryptocurrency space. They kept on asking this man how rich he was. How much money do you have? So how much Bitcoin do you have? Oh, that's okay. All right, cool. Next question. You know, what are you going to do with all your money? And you could tell he was a little bit uncomfortable because he, as far as I can tell from years ago, mentioned he doesn't like talking. I mean, not many rich people like talking about, you know, how rich that they actually are. I keep seeing people, and I'll tell you this once again. Please stop telling people how much money you have. There was something I recently saw on Instagram where this guy made a, like, you know, one of those little short 25-second things where he was bragging because he was showing one of his Bitcoin wallets and it was like $18 million or something inside of it. He's like, this isn't even my biggest wallet. And people in the comment section were like, wow, that's amazing. And I was like, why feel the need to tell people how much money I don't understand the trend, and I hope that I never actually will. So anyway, bringing it on back. Yes, apparently Changpeng Zhao is incredibly wealthy. Is anyone surprised? No. This guy's been in crypto for a very long time. I think there were rumors that he's been into Bitcoin since it was, you know, a couple of dollars. But I think there's some type of what's the word? This thing of people loving the idea of someone being in poverty to really making it, if you will, is very strong in a lot of people. And they like hearing stories like this. This is why nearly every article discussing how rich Changpeng Zhao is, they make sure to announce that he was, you know, he used to work at McDonald's. Wow, that's the lowest job there could possibly be. I mean, you mean he was flipping burgers and giving out fries? That's crazy. Now he's wealthy. I mean, I don't understand the cultural fascination. It's the same exact thing with Elon Musk. Like, I would rather look up to Elon Musk for his technological, scientific, advancements and the things he's building or helping to build, rather than following him because he has a lot of zeros in his bank account. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. So yeah, this was popular because it's Changpeng Zhao. It's all over the place. Apparently he's rich, and people are now estimating that he's actually maybe one of the richest, like actually like number 2 or number 3 in the rich list. Why people care? I'm not sure. I would ask you to tell me why, but I just assume it's because of the money. Does it seem that it's more aspirational because you're also in crypto and he's in crypto, and therefore if he made 96 billion, I can also make? I have no idea. I don't get what it is, but yeah, if you've watched him talking before, He doesn't want to talk about it, but people always keep bringing up how rich he is. Like, they don't actually care about cryptocurrencies or decentralization, which is usually all that Changpeng Zhao is talking about. But yeah, that's the Changpeng Zhao has money. What? News. And yeah, let's move on. Also in the news, after admitting that they made a mistake by expanding to the US instead of focusing on crypto services, the online bank N26 has promised to release digital asset features to its multi-million user base by the end of I assume that's supposed to be 2022. Yes, because it's definitely 2022. Found nearly a decade ago, N26 is a German online bank that tried to expand into the US and the UK in the past several years as its main goal. However, the co-founder and co-executive Max Tejenthal believes this strategy could have been a mistake. In a recent interview with the Financial Times, the executive regretted that his company missed out on the cryptocurrency market boom in the past few years. So they apparently tried to expand into the UK and to the US. It didn't work out as they thought it would. They've stopped UK operations and are going to be stopping those. It keeps saying 2021. Does the person not know what year this article was? Anyway, the point is, yes, this is another bank that we've heard from Germany who is going to be expanding into the cryptocurrency space. I assume that they tried to expand into the US and to the UK because, like many other companies, they usually assume that this is the great bam, we've hit the top by expanding into the US. I would have sat down with them and really told them just a solid no. The amount of regulations that the UK and the US has, even for US and UK companies, nonetheless a German company trying to enter into their space, has to be absolutely ridiculous. So I assume, anyway, the point is, yeah, another German bank is going to be launching cryptocurrency services in 2022. I think that they wrote 2021 nearly every single place in this article. That is quite fascinating. But this also happens as well. I remember being in school. I know this happened to everyone. And like you're writing the year, and sometimes like you'll still write 2001 even though it's 2002. And anyway, all right, that's the German news. All right, let's move on. Also, this was actually more popular than the Cash App news and many other things. Like, I get it, but it's not like that amazing. It's time for the B Trust. I thought it was Bit Trust and they had misspelled it. Nope, it is called the B Trust to start making moves. And they did so by announcing their to-do list and high-level goals. A month ago, Block CEO Jack Dorsey and Jay-Z announced the members of the board for their 500 Bitcoin blind trust. B Trust's purpose is to make Bitcoin the internet currency, and their field of action is Africa and India. And here's the tweet for it right here. Said members of the board took charge and recently showed the world what they've been working on since they did so. What? Each of these tasks require careful thought. We'll be requesting feedback from the community on individual items in the weeks to come. B Trust said in this inaugural Twitter thread. Before going through these tasks, though, let's remember who the members are. This is worded absolutely horrendously terribly. Apparently, as far as I understand it, the B Trust is for the accumulation of Bitcoin by this company to then sprinkle on other smaller companies who are trying to work on applications or side chains or layer 2s to build on top of Bitcoin to make Bitcoin easier to access for people around the world. I think I got it. The other part of it is, for those of you who don't know or are just completely unaware of how the world actually works, India, Africa, Latin America, and many other places do not actually have access to the current financial system that we have. Surprise! Yeah, I know. In the 1960s and 1970s, it was actually decided by a very small group of people who sat inside of a room who basically decided that the only people who should have access to a proper monetary system basically resided in North America, Europe, parts of Asia, and Australia. The rest of the world basically being allowed to live the rest of their lives in relative poverty. Not even joking. I'm not trying to make a statement. It's more of a, that's just literally what happened It's been happening since Bretton Woods. So then on top of that, basically, since then, they have not that they don't have a real economic structure. They have built their own, which actually allows them to work with other countries around the world. But it's still not the actual economic structure that you are probably more used to, especially with you being able to have multiple banks in your city or in your town that you can simply just walk into and open up a bank account. So the idea has been from many different prominent cryptocurrency members, whether it be the people from Dash or Jack Dorsey or the guy from Cardano or many other things. They believe in this aspect that Latin America, Africa, Southeast Asia, India, and I think that's about it, are pretty much ripe for the developing when it comes to the cryptocurrency market. And this is why they are targeting these particular areas, because if they have for so long not been a part of the old system, therefore the beginning of the new system can be rapidly built up in these countries, allowing them to have a first mover advantage. Yeah, so like I said, it's cool. This is not the first initiative to do this. I think it's gained a lot of popularity in crypto news simply because it is Jack Dorsey and Jay-Z. And Jay-Z, it's really fascinating how I watched the video, not that it's completely relevant, but I watched the video a while ago showing a lot of rappers from the early 90s and early 2000s who have completely shed any idea of them, you know, being from where they previously were, and now simply like being known as like multimillionaires and or billionaires or property moguls or whatever the actual thing might be. And Jay-Z being one of them. Like many people, I mean, I guess it depends on when you were birthed into the world. Jay-Z still has, you know, the rapper image for me, but for a lot of other people, he's just like this guy who used to rap years ago, who is extremely wealthy, married to Beyonce, and they have tons of money and they keep on investing. So anyway, that's the BTrust news. I only have one tab open here because I did not want to have all 11 of them. It seemed a little redundant. But yeah, let's see what BTrust is going to be doing and if they do it correctly. Because once again, this is not the first time that someone or something or an entity has announced that they were going to be making an initiative like this. And it kind of fell flat on its face. So it would be nice if it made it because, you know, promises, promises. That's the BTrust news. And yeah, let's move on. Next up, this should have made more news. I believe this was also the only website that had this information. Authorities in Iran or Iran are preparing to allow the employment of cryptocurrencies for international settlements. You know how much I hate when websites use the word, or when governments or any institutions use the word cryptocurrencies and they mean stablecoin. I read through this. No, they mean cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrencies for international settlements. According to local media, central bank and government officials have given the green light to adopt a mechanism using digital coins in the field of foreign trade. For those of you who missed out when I said when SWIFT was activated in the 60s and I believe early 70s, there were a number of countries who were not allowed to enter into the economic system that we currently have around the world. This country was one of them. Iranian companies will be allowed to use cryptocurrencies in settlements with partners in other countries. Local media has reported an agreement to that end has been reached by the Central Bank of Iran and the Ministry of Industries, Mining and Trade. Quoted by the Financial Tribune, the head of the Trade Promotion Organization of Iran, I'm not going to try and butcher that, has announced we are finalizing a mechanism for operations of the system that should provide new opportunities for importers and exporters, that is trade within the country, to use crypto in their international deals. According to the Iranian news, Ibena Pak, who also is a deputy minister of trade, took to social media to provide details about the first meeting of a joint foreign exchange working group between his department and the CBI. The participants approved a number of measures. Where's the actual... Yeah, here we go. Here's the most important part. A follow-up report quotes the same official as saying that the Trade Ministry will provide a plan within 2 weeks for the use of locally mined cryptocurrencies. That's what did it for me. It was the idea that it's not for stablecoins. For those of you who are unaware, Iran is one of the largest or more popular places for people to go around the world when they're looking for not only solar energy, but like just to be able to mine cryptocurrencies on their own. It was previously banned in 2018. They made a whole hubbub about it, and then it was made legal within the country, with, I believe, a large portion of Bitcoin and Ethereum actually being created within the country, which we also spoke about years ago as well. Basically, I had the idea that a lot of countries, we started getting news and a lot of rumors that there were a couple of countries around the world who were actually not only buying Bitcoin, but also mining it in the background. A lot of people, for some reason in those days, called me completely insane, said that it wasn't happening. Governments didn't want to touch cryptocurrencies because they were decentralized, and governments, didn't understand what was actually taking place. And this was even before the El Salvador thing was actually going on. I was telling people, I was like, no, if they're buying tons of cryptocurrencies right now, and should we ever get to a point where Bitcoin actually reaches $1 million, these are going to be the richest countries on the planet. So we know for a fact that they actually have been mining tons of Bitcoin and tons of Ethereum. And now they're making laws to make sure that people and companies who have been actually mining these things can actually use them to pay for the imports of goods. The initial proposal comes from the Central Bank of Iran. Quite fascinating. This is an article from 2018. It says Iranians use Bitcoin to bypass sanctions and to, it says launder money, but what have you. The news that we were getting around this time was that it was Iran, Afghanistan, Russia. Oh gosh, and there are like 3 other countries who are definitely under U.S. sanctions, that they were actually sending Bitcoin around by themselves. Therefore, the bypass sanctions part. And I was telling people the significance of this, and a lot of people don't seem to understand. This is why I said, like, if you are into the cryptocurrency space and you're just here for the money, sure, fine, whatever, live your life, but you're missing out on so much of what's actually taking place. You're actually witnessing the entire shift of a full economic system collapsing around us. When you talk about the inflation of the US dollar and the end of the usage of the US dollar, in countries who haven't for around 50, 60, 70 years been a part of any system using a brand new currency that was created 12, 13 years ago at will, they are able to create their own, not own money, set up a machine and actually make Bitcoin themselves. They no longer actually have to go to the US and say, hey, we're having a problem. We're having a so-and-so. Can you please stop some of the sanctions that we can actually move money and stuff back across between the borders? Bitcoin is its own border. It is one entire system that you can move any amount of money that you want to at any time, whenever you want. So the idea that these countries are accumulating tons of Bitcoin and have already been, we don't know, trading Bitcoin back and forth between themselves, you are seeing the actual rise of Bitcoin before your eyes. This is why, once again, it's always such a shame when everyone's like really kind of hung up on the idea of, why, oh my gosh, why is Bitcoin's price going down? Even the idea of these mega rich billionaires buying up as much Bitcoin as possible, telling everyone else to buy up tons of Bitcoin, all the apps that everyone's using, every single finance app that's out there is integrating Bitcoin, integrating cryptocurrencies for payments, their own cryptocurrency trading exchange. Why do you think all these things are happening? Why do you think that Facebook changed their name to Meta? Why do you think Facebook years ago was trying to create their own digital currencies? All these things happening in front of everyone's eyes, and no one's paying attention to it. It's absolutely insane. So basically, to end this point, yeah, they are finalizing to make it completely legal for people in their country. I assume this is geared more towards businesses who are mining massive amounts of cryptocurrencies, and maybe even the government itself, to start passing Bitcoin and crypto back and forth between them and other countries. This is almost as significant as El Salvador actually adopting Bitcoin as legal tender. This means that people in Iran and companies and institutions and very rich people are going to be sending Bitcoin and crypto back and forth to actually pay for imports. I don't know how this wasn't as popular as it should have been. I'm going to, whatever. Anyway, the point is, this is major. No one ever pays attention to news like this. We are going to enter a point in the next 5 years, because Bitcoin is already basically integrated into so many different things, where you'll be able to pay for and buy for just about, already everything in Bitcoin. And people will sit there and wonder, oh my gosh, I wonder why I sold so early. I just simply didn't see this coming. The world has changed. And not even in just the last 2 years, which is also something for another video. But I mean, look at the world around us. Like, did you ever think 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago when someone told you the word Bitcoin, you thought it sounded stupid, that we'd be at this point right now? We also know that the US also has Bitcoin as well. They've been accumulating for quite some time. They've been taking it from other people who they claim were doing not so nice things on the internet. The US also has their own Bitcoin stash. We can only assume that there's some type of funding somewhere where they're also accumulating more as well. But no one's paying attention. Ever. It drives me completely insane. I don't get it. It's kind of like when people don't pay attention to like getting older or retiring or actually saving money. I'm so glad that the huge, what's it called? A large portion, at least, of the mindset of people who've gotten into crypto just so they could buy a Lambo it's kind of dissipated. You don't hear about it as much anymore because it's like, can you imagine Bitcoin goes up in price, Scott, you know, pew, 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 pumps, and people cash out, buy a Lamborghini, and I assume a tiny studio apartment because they have nothing left because they spent all the money on the Lamborghini. And then 20 years, how big all of this actually is. It just, I'm sensing a lot of future regrets. Anyway, that's the Iran news. This was the only website talking about it that I found. An actual shame. Alrighty, let's move on. And to finish things off, Fidelity Investments Canada, the country's first regulated institutional Bitcoin custodian, has added a Bitcoin allocation to 2 of its all-in-one exchange-traded funds, a set of low-risk ETFs that seek to provide investors with exposure to different assets, regions, market capitalizations, and investment styles. The addition will change the fund's risk rating from low to medium. Fidelity said in a Tuesday press release that the decision to add Bitcoin exposure to the all-in-one funds was made for its diversification benefits with the potential to improve risk-adjusted returns going forward. Basically, for those of you who did not understand, Fidelity and many other companies, many other hedge funds, many other retirement funds, pension funds are now adding Bitcoin allocations to their actual funds. The interesting part is that they're actually adding exposure to Bitcoin through their ETFs that are actually Bitcoin ETFs that are holding the actual Bitcoin. So the funds, in essence, are actually also holding Bitcoin themselves. This is happening everywhere. I would understand a little bit more if people who are outside the cryptocurrency space simply didn't care or didn't understand. But this is never gigantic news in the cryptocurrency space. We've had days where news like this actually took place. And the more popular news that day was that Elon Musk posted a photo of his dog. Think about that. Think of what a distraction and a diversion that is to what's actually taking place in the world. The idea that Elon Musk says something, whatever, doesn't even matter. So the point is, yes, Fidelity has been in the cryptocurrency space since we know of at least 2017. I believe we had news before that they were looking at Bitcoin since 2014. Once again, that magical year, not exactly sure why it's 2014 over and over. But yeah, Fidelity recently, what was it? I think they started a couple of ETFs in Canada because they couldn't do so within the United States. They were not the only ones to actually do so. And now they're adding exposure to their Canadian funds, I assume, some Bitcoin exposure as well. This is going to happen everywhere. If you don't have Bitcoin or don't have Bitcoin exposure, you're going to look absolutely insane as an investment manager over the next year or two. People already look, you look weird if you don't have any type of Bitcoin exposure. Anyway, that's the Fidelity news. Where's my phone? Hold on. Wait for it. Hold on. Why do I never have this open? I don't understand myself. I just really don't get it. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. As always, a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters, Professor Wally from Gunbot University, How's Life Austin, Jamie Saad, Blockchain Simplified, and Let's Move On, Chris Hakeem Wilkins, Empire Queen, Stake It With Valor, FUDWISER, Mortified, Roman, Gaba, Bitcoin, Ben Arachno, Dave, Tony, Ambroski, The Dealer's Den, Red Plum Tomato, Umnu, Wish Nikki, The Letter M, Not Brain, Captain Something, and the Z-Way, Lay Crypto, Black Sheep, AJ Cut 5, Speedy655, and Carlos Was Like, Mobarazi, Jojo Shaw Show, VB Nerd 21, Miguel Grelay, Lauren De Silva, Quarterbitty, Bare Bones, Mining, Troy, all good. Space Case, Need a Miracle, Pat Ternoster, Conan, Don't Skip Leg Day, Snacky Chan, Tolik, Banana, Auspicious Agile, and Blockchain, Navarro Williams, David James, Attila the Han, Yasha Harari, Utopia 569, Moonman High, XRP, Martin Stoyo, Nostromo, John Sarson, The Animal Reader, Bibliophobia, Todd Mullis, Adam Graysick, Wilhelm Roni, Massive Ventures in Thailand, Jared Schneider, Wise Night Owl, 242 to the World, Bankroll Network, Crypto Artist, Coldy 3D, Damien, Setsuna, Richie Richard III, Vlad the Impaler, Paxis, Nick Mann, Gialavodi, Jim Garner, Jamie Fox, Minting Coins, Miller, Hish Chest, Everyday, and Cow Skips, Leg Day, Yester, Crypto, Buddy, Make Buttface, and 7 is Mars, Gonna Stab, Big Make Cake, Tigra, Macho, Nissan, Crypto, Lano, Crayola, Michelle, you are Ellen Bolero Bastos. Thank you all very, 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 very much for your continued support. Thank you to all the new Patreon members. Hello out there. Thank you to everyone who is a member of the channel. Thank you to everyone who is a clicker of affiliate links. Thank you to everyone who's still here, listening to me ramble on about the news. I mean, but you understand what I'm saying, right? Like, there's actual important news that happens all the time and it never really gets covered. In 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, if we had news that there was a country, not even multiple countries, that was even thinking of creating a law that would allow them to trade and use Bitcoin with other countries, we would have seen a 28% explosion in Bitcoin's price instantaneously. But this news, it's not that it doesn't excite people. I don't think people understand what this means. These are countries who have been under the heavy weight of the US, the petrodollar, for 50, 60, 70 years. The fact that we got news 4 years ago that there were at least 5 different countries, the rumor was that they were already trading Bitcoin between themselves and trying out the systems. I don't understand. I don't understand why it's the really dumb, stupid news that ends up being the most popular news stories of the day, but not the fact that we are going to have a situation where in about 10 years, there's going to be some problems because countries will have already started using Bitcoin as one of their main ways of transacting money. And the US is going to be like, hey, well, sanctions. And they're going to be like, sanction what? You can't stop our payments. I don't get how people don't see the hyper significance of everything that's taking place right now. At the moment, Bitcoin is currently up by 1.3%. Here's the movement I was telling you about. Like, it pumped up and is simply going sideways. I don't get it. Ethereum is currently up by 3.6%. It is at $3,251. Binance Coin is up by 2.5%. Solana is up by 4%. Cardano's up by 7%. Luna is up by 6%. Polkadot is up by 8%. Avalanche, ironically, is up by 8%. Shiba Inu and Dogecoin are still trying to outperform each other in some sort of way. Crypto Coin is up by 4%. Matic is up by 7%. Near Protocol is up by 10%. Algorand is up by 6%. DAI, for some reason, the Koi, DAI, is down by 8%, which is not something that should actually be happening to a stable coin. Something is wrong there. Cosmos is up by 5%. Phantom is up by 19%. OKB is up by 6%. Stellar is up by 7%. Decentraland is up by 4%. VeChain Thor is up by 5%. Sandbox is up by 8%. Things are looking pretty good. Harmony is up by 13%. Theta's up by 5%. Clayton's up by 5%. Monero is up by 6%. And IOTA, I mean, scratching as hard as it can, is back in the top 50 and is up by 4% with only $48 million in trading volume. Very weird times. The cryptocurrency market, I can be honest, it definitely annoys me. It's not the lack of movement in price, because it would make total sense sometimes. However, I make videos every single day. You know this. Hello, if you are brand new to the channel, I make videos every single day and have been doing so for, it's like going on 5 years or something like that now. The news that we're getting does not make any sense to actual movements in the market. We have seen an insane amount of accumulation since and I mean spring of 2020. Huge amounts of Bitcoin accumulation. We know that it's actually happening. We know that it's taking place because of sentiment, because of Glassnode, and them basically giving us news at least twice a week of these companies, of these institutions who are buying up tons of Bitcoin, buying up tons of Ethereum. But there's also usually news of this whale just bought tons of Cardano. This whale just did so-and-so. This amount of price, Bitcoin's price does not make any sense for not only what's actually happening in the world, but for the amount of accumulation. What was the other news that we just got a couple days ago? It was about a week and some change ago. I think out of all the Bitcoin that's been created, I think there's, what is it? I think 76% is not moving or is locked up. Like, it's simply just not going anywhere. And all the rest of it continues to dwindle every single day on cryptocurrency exchanges. Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense why we would even be remotely below $70,000 right now. But alas, here we are. I do hope you enjoyed the video and also my rants. I don't rant on purpose. If I really just do it from the heart because I hate illogic. I need actual logic around me to also be able to function. And the cryptocurrency market is the most ridiculous thing I've ever been in a long time. I do hope you've all enjoyed. I do hope that you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. Something is wrong with this coin. I do hope that it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, supporting, eating Doritos. I don't know what people are doing at home right now. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.